Hello and welcome to Viva Pod Vegas. Thank you very much for listening. This is episode 33, The Trouble with Girls from 1969. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
And I'm Mike Manzi.
This is the second of three movies Elvis made in 1969. It's also his penultimate movie. He's got one more.
One more to go.
Change of habit. This movie, Chautauqua manager Walter Hale and his loyal business manager struggle to keep their traveling troupe together in small-town America. Currently available for free on YouTube, like officially on YouTube, which is...
Oh, I wish I'd known that. My disc started skipping.
It's a really nice print. It looks really cool.
Yeah,
I don't know why it's there. There's a lot of movies for free. And I looked because I was like, because this is one that I have the DVD of.
Me too.
But there's sometimes I can like, I have the DVD of all of them, but like sometimes I can download some of them from like, less than reputable sites, whatever. And this one was not there. I was just like, oh, this is like a harder one to find. So I was like, maybe somebody just put it on YouTube and like they're just like letting it be. And then like YouTube itself was hosting. I was like, oh, and it was a really nice print. And I was glad that I did.
I wish I had known that, Joey, because my DVD started skipping halfway through the movie, and I ended up renting it off of one of the sites. So, like...
Sorry about
that.
Didn't.
Well, YouTube didn't show up when you do, like, the internet
I know,
search.
I know.
So I should have known better. I should have known.
I think, like, old stuff, maybe just go to YouTube, just check it. Like, I mean, not that this is, like, not that 69 is, like, super old. I also feel like...
Old enough.
2001 came out the same year, or whatever, right around the same time. And it's like, well, that would
crazy to think about. Oh, why did you just say that now? It's like...
So before we get to this movie proper, we do have an email address, King, at cageclub.me, and we have one email from Kevin, subject line, that's the way it is / on tour.
All right.
Mike and Joey, as you near the end of your Elvis movie deep dive and you seem unsure what to cover after a change of habit, you absolutely cannot move on until you cover two documentaries, Elvis, That's the Way It Is from 1970 and Elvis on Tour from 1972. Yes, they're not dramatic roles, but they were crucial to see how his career rebounded in the early 70s, and they were committed to celluloid and hit the movie theaters when all was said and done. Be the perfect bookend to your series. Also, your Elvis tattoo could be episode 33 to denote his entire film career. Best regards, Kevin from the UK.
All right. Not a bad idea. I think I had seen parts of the first one he mentioned when I was very young, before I might have even known exactly who Elvis was. I was like, oh, this looks pretty cool. This guy seems pretty cool.
Documentaries are tough. Maybe we could do both in one. I don't know. Like we're figuring it out. Next one will for sure be Change of Habit. Yep. I think we have to watch the comeback special, though. I don't know how much there will be to talk about in that.
Right. They didn't do any skits, did they?
What we could do, and maybe nobody would be interested in this. I don't know. Email in King at cageclub.me, King at cageclub.me, is maybe we watch it like either together or like together remote and then record like a commentary, like our reactions to it.
Oh, that could be nice. We can do that.
Because like, what do you talk about with like a thing that's just like a concert film, right? Like, I don't know that there's like an episode there, but I feel like we have to watch it.
Yeah. We need at least to give like some kind of review about it, but I don't think we need to go like super in depth. It could be one of those things where we clump a bunch together for like a special episode.
Yeah. Like the clip shows that we would do on Cage and Keanu. And
oh, right. Yeah.
Although this would be like, hey, watch a concert film, watch two documentaries, watch other things. It's like, talk about it for like half an hour. It's like, well, that's a lot of work, but we'll figure it out. But yes, next episode will be Change of Habit. And then from there, TBD, but we'll figure it out. Okay. All right. Like, The Trouble with Girls has 3 taglines. I would call it 2.5, but there's 3.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't call many of these taglines to begin with, so they've been getting better, though. They've been getting better. You're
not going to like these.
Well, you know me pretty well, so I'll take your word for it.
Number 1. Elvis crosses the country, ... into trouble, ! Trouble, ! Trouble, ! Elvis crosses the country into trouble, trouble.
Yeah, no. No, I don't like it. Nope. No, it's not. He never gets into. It's not. He's not in trouble. He's not the one in trouble. He didn't commit the murder, by the way. What the?
Wait, we will get to it. We will get to it.
Y'all.
Okay.
We shall.
Number 2. Elvis 69. I don't know if you noticed this, but there's a lot of posters of this movie. It just says Elvis 69.
Yeah. All right.
Elvis 69, all capital letters. Elvis 69. Elvis crosses the country into trouble, trouble.
Wait. So Elvis 69 is the tagline.
No, the whole thing is the same thing as the previous one, but first it says Elvis 69. Elvis crosses the country into trouble, trouble.
Oh. Well, I mean, was 69 like, did it have that meaning back in 1969 where people like, this is the sexiest year?
This is also like a largely sexless movie. I don't know.
TBD. Well, it takes place in like the 30s, right? It takes place
1927 or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a sinner's chill at one moment, but we'll get there.
And then the third tagline, the one that I would call half, is in parentheses and how to get in it.
What?
So the trouble with
That
girls,
is amazing.
parentheses, and how to get in it.
That is so inappropriately insane.
So you want to go with that one?
I think we have to.
Okay.
I'm flabbergasted by that one. That is, I can't believe that was they actually. That's actually kind of feels risque. Like maybe they did know what 69 meant back then.
Directed by Peter Tewksbury, who directed Stay Away Joe, which was one of our least favorite movies in this podcast.
This one isn't that well directed either.
Screenplay by Arnold Pazer and Lois Pazer, who did not write anything else of note that I saw that I could find, based on a novel from 1960 called Chautauqua by Day Keane and Dwight and Babcock. Or Dwight V. Babcock, I don't know. But Babcock is monster adjacent, because Babcock also was the original writer on The Mummy's Curse, House of Horrors, and She-Wolf of London.
Weird, because we have an invisible man in this movie and a Dracula.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Plus, we also have a super sleuth, one of the team and the Mystery Machine team.
Oh, there's a couple Mystery Machine people here, sort of, kind of, a little bit. I will get to that in the other
I was
one.
like, who is that? I know that voice.
Yep.
I know that voice.
Produced by Lester Welch and Wilson McCarthy, who did not produce much of note that I could find. Cinematography by Jacques R. Marquette, who has come up before because he did Frankie and Johnny. He also did Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
I love Frankie and Johnny. Well, I liked the idea that I liked that one. I like 50-Foot Woman. There's some beautiful shots in this movie, actually. The fireworks.
Fireworks is a very fun scene.
Yeah.
So cast, we have Elvis Presley as Walter Hale. We've got Marlon Mason as Charlene. Marlon Mason as Charlene. There's not much of note about her online.
Okay. One more thing before we move on real quick, because I just want to say one quick thing about the King this time around.
Okay.
And I don't know if it came up then or whatever, but like he's dressed like the Colonel is usually depicted.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how much of this is him doing the Colonel.
Because he's got that cigar, he's got that whole thing, everything but like the penguin quack is happening here. So I just needed to say that about E, because typically we don't have much new to say about him. I think he looks good. He's sharp. You know, he kind of walks in and out of this movie from time to time. We'll talk about that. And then every time Marilyn Mason came on screen, I thought it was Marilyn Manson. I couldn't get that out of my head.
Nicole Jaffe plays Betty Smith. She is the original voice of Velma in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Kind of has that Velma vibe, too, in real life.
The original Scooby-Doo. That cartoon premiered 10 days after this movie. So Nicole Jaffe had a huge 2 weeks.
That's awesome. Good for her. Yeah, she hit big.
There's also someone who I did not know what he looked like. I would imagine you don't know what he looks like either, but the Rutgers college kid in that like barbershop quartet of college kids, voice actor Frank Welker. Okay. I don't know if you know that name, but he's a legendary voice actor. He was also in Scooby-Doo. He was Fred and Scooby-Doo in the original. So there's two different people from... Yes. He also was the voice of Megatron and Soundwave in Transformers.
Whoa.
He was Abu in Aladdin, Dr. Claw in Inspector Gadget, and I know him from Nibbler in Futurama.
Wow, heavy hitter.
Yeah, so he's just like a kid in this. But,
I love Dr. Claw.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
We've got Shereen North as Nita Bix, the murderess.
That is a great name, by the way. That's like a Bond villain.
Nita Bix?
Yeah.
Anita Bix. She's one of 20th Century Fox's intended successors to Marilyn Monroe. It did not really work out, but they're like, we need another Marilyn. Here's like 4 women. She was one of them, Shereen North. She's also in Maniac Cop, which rules. So I don't know. I don't think she's got a big part in that, but she's in Maniac Cop.
So that was the mom that did it? That's what we're talking about here? That's
correct.
Shereen North? Okay, yeah. Okay.
Because there's basically 2 main women in this. There's the one who's like, we got to have a union or whatever, and then the other one's just like, I'm a murderer because I don't like the way that the camera ogled me, which we will get to.
That guy abused her. You did know, like,
do you know who that guy was?
I couldn't believe it. I kept writing Creepo. Like, he's so good in this role. I hated him so much, and there was something about him. And then afterwards, I realized it's Dabney Coleman,
also known as Dabney Coleperson.
Dabney Coleperson, beg my pardon.
Yeah. I don't really know much about him other than a legendary name, but yeah, there's people in this movie that are just like, oh, there's Dabney Coleman. Also, while we're on the topic, We got John Carradine as Mr. Drew Colt,
Yeah,
longtime
Dracula.
Count Dracula. We got
Yeah,
Vincent Price as
mustache.
Mr. Morality, another horror legend.
And these guys are just like cameos. It's wild.
So there's trivia. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's apparently, supposedly, they were cast in this movie because Elvis loved them, loved their movies. So he was like, I want to work with them.
They're amazing.
But then he wasn't on screen with them. Like, he never apparently even met Vincent Price.
I just want to kind of like hang out with them and have lunch, and you know,
But, like, I
I
don't
just
even
want
think
to
he met
watch
Vincent
them.
Price. It was just like, it's very weird. I don't know.
That's crazy. Dabney Coleman was big when I was a kid. He was huge. He even had a show called Drexel's Class on Fox and all this kind of stuff. The Charlene girl I liked, the Marilyn Manson girl.
Yeah.
I just kept calling her the flapper because she had like that bob, and then I could picture her just like flapping. Anyway, that was a new old Mr. Show skit with the how Einstein, the famous Einstein picture was taken.
Oh, yes. We also have in this movie legendary Dodgers outfielder, Baseball Hall of Famer Duke Snider plays the Cranker.
Okay.
That little girl, I think, in the fireworks scene is Anissa Jones. She played Buffy on Family Affair and sadly OD'd at 18 years old. This is her only film.
That's very sad. However, there is a cameo by Cindy Brady. I don't know her name.
She's in the auditions, yes.
Yeah, she's in
Susan,
the audition.
Susan Olsen, yes.
Susan Olsen, yes. It was on the tip of my tongue. Yeah. I was like, Cindy Brady. Whoa.
But there's also another auditioneer, boy. Did you recognize any boys in there?
No.
Danny Bonaducci from The Partridge Family
Holy
is also in that
mackerel.
same scene.
Now I picture it. Yeah, because they're not credited, at least not on like Google. You know, so
Bonaducci's the one-man band, and
that's Bonaducci. I wrote down because I wrote down like he's doing the Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins. He's the whole one-man band thing here going on.
And Susan Olsen is a child singer.
Yeah, who like kind of can't remember the words. I guess
It's a wild cast. That's like
It's
8 people that
weird-ass
like have
movie.
nothing to do in this movie. They're all like, why is there a pro baseball Hall of Famer, 2 horror legends, TV sort of royalty, Dabney Coleman, and it's like, any of them have anything to do? Not really.
Yeah, all these voiceovers, like, we could give us half the cast of Scooby Doo while you're at it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is a weird kind of movie. Like, I could see if this was made today, a movie like this it almost feels like this is going to be almost like a cinema sin to say, but it's got like a Nashville sort of esque kind of vibe where it
Do
just
not compare this to Nashville, but I get what you're saying.
I don't know how else to like correlate it, but like it follows different groups of people
Yes.
during a massive event and culminates in a tragedy, basically, right? Like there's a shooting in Nashville at the end of that, right? If I'm not mistaken, isn't there like a murder? So like, yeah, I mean, it's that kind of type of movie. So if this was like made today, I could see it being peppered with this type of cast, you know, just like randoms, but famous for certain reasons and cool cameos and stuff. But like for us, it's not my generation. So like, it was kind of like lost on me at the time I was watching it.
So I think the thing that I just kept going back to while watching this movie is based on a novel.
You guys
Sold
should
as an
read
Elvis movie, but
You guys
based
got
as
to
a
read it
novel.
over there. You got to read it. You and
I asked Bob, and Bob had never heard of it. So
he doesn't teach it.
I was like, I don't know if this is a big novel. So anyway, in June 1959, it's announced that Don Mankiewicz would write a screenplay of an unpublished story. By December of 1960,
Mankiewicz? Not the Mank.
I don't think that's Mank.
Okay, probably not. No, I don't think his name was Don. But
Mank's real name was Herman Mankiewicz.
Okay.
Joseph Mankiewicz also in there, but yeah, no, this is a different guy. Same last name. By December of 1960, so like a year and a half later, it's named Chautauqua, and MGM is starting to make the film with Glenn Ford. There's rumors, again, 1960, 9 years before it comes out, that Elvis is going to be in it too. Nothing ever comes of it. Project gets shelved.
wow.
1964, a man you just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, Dick Van Dyke, signs up to star in a film named Chautauqua, based on a book called Morally We Roll Along by Gay McLaren. Nothing to do with this book, nothing to do with this movie, just a different movie called Chautauqua.
Was Chautauqua like a sensation that swept the nation?
It's
Like,
a
what the fuck?
region in New York. It's like a type of education. Like I looked this up last time. I looked it up before we started
It's just
recording
like
today.
tutorials. It's just tutorials. It's just like YouTube tutorials, but in person. Like it is, and it's sort of veiled in this real creepy like Scientology thing. Like I don't know what's going on, but there seems to be like strings being pulled.
So a couple years of failed screenplays, cast changes, MGM sells the rights to Columbia in May of 65. Then Columbia can't get the project off the ground. In April 68, sells it back to MGM. And this time MGM's like, okay, Elvis for real, get in this movie. They start production in fall of 68. They called it Chautauqua as the working title, but changed to Trouble with Girls, as producers worried that audiences would not understand or be able to pronounce the title.
Yeah, I'm having trouble pronouncing modern titles by whatever the new Wes Anderson movie is. I could
The
barely
Phoenician
pronounce it.
scheme.
Yeah, Phoenician or whatever. I can understand them not wanting to call it Chautauqua, but like that's part of the marketing campaign, folks. Be like, what's it called? Chautauqua. Like you do a trailer,
I
you do
do
radio
wonder
ads.
if like this movie, because this movie's not called Elvis 69, but I do wonder if like
That would have been crazy. That would have if it was named in your original suggestion of how to title Elvis films from the start, it would be Elvis 1, Elvis 2, Elvis 3.
this would be Elvis 29, yeah.
Elvis movie 4.
But like we gotta say right now, The Trouble with Girls is a terrible title.
Oh yeah.
It does not at all. I mean,
No,
it's
it
a
feels
fine
like
title. It's
one
a
of his
terrible
other
title for
movies.
this movie.
Yeah. It feels like it sounds like an Elvis film,
Yes.
but it's just like Girls, 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 where that was really boats, boats, boats. Like this really isn't the Trouble with Girls. This is like, yeah, Chautauqua's not a great title, but like I don't know how else to explain it. What do you call it? Hootenanny? I don't know.
I mean, you could call it Chautauqua. You could call. I mean, it happened at the town fair.
Dude, it has such like a town. Yeah, it's a town. Just call it the fair, the town fair, something
I'm just
like
sure,
that.
we had like it happened at the World's Fair, right? Just like rehash that, but like it happened at the town's fair or
Or
something.
working expo or something, because it feels like that. It feels like the Elvis Expo, and it's like you go to this tent to learn this, you go to that tent to learn like I don't know karate, you go to that tent to learn self-defense, and then you go to this tent to listen to people like tell you about philosophers, which I thought was kind of cool. It kind of reminded me of that Western where Hanks would go town to town reading the newspaper because like people just didn't know what the fuck was going on in the Old West from time to time. And this was like, Vincent Price plays the guy who's like, I'm going to talk to you about like the popular literature of the day or like what the philosophers are talking about, So it's not like, it's pretty interesting sort of conceptually what they're doing. It's just, I don't know about the execution here. Like there's just no thread. It feels very nebulous, whereas it should feel like a web. It doesn't feel like a web.
Well, I'm also like my takeaway, and I put this on Letterboxd, and I know that you saw because you liked it, but like I think this would be like if this was in the middle of his filmography, I think I would really like this movie because it's weird and it's different. But like we only have 2 Elvis movies left. There's only a limited quantity. And by this point, I'm like, I don't want one where it's sold as an Elvis movie. I have more trivia. We're not talking about the movie yet, but like where it starts in black and white, he gets off the train, the world turns to color. It's like Elvis is here, you love this,
Yeah.
and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna be back in like half an hour. It's like, hold on, wait, what? Like that's not what
good
anybody
point.
wants here.
Yeah, when the narrator came back at the very end, I was like, wait, is this a mistake? I was like, oh, no, wait, yeah, he was there, but he just left.
I don't think this is good. I think that the novel might be really good, or could be good, because it feels more like literary than filmy. But in terms of like 2 Elvis movies left, what do we have? This is not what I wanted one of them to be.
I understand. I mean, I felt last time with the Western, it was okay, it's passable. He wants to do something serious for one of his last films. Good. Get it out of the way. The one before that, amazing comedy. That was fantastic movie. It was hilarious. I loved that. Like unironically, like I genuinely liked that one. This is just. You're right. It does feel like something that should have been made 10 years ago when it was supposed to be made 10 years ago. And it has that sensibility, and it just feels like taking steps backwards instead because it felt like they were on kind of like this roll where it's like, all right, we're gonna kill it till we get to the end, and each one's gonna be like if not a banger, like it's going to be a pleaser at least, people aren't going to be going like, what the hell was that necessarily? But yeah, I'm a little discouraged. I mean, I don't like the movie, but I think it's kind of like a fascinating concept for a story for a film, but it just didn't have that through line that it needed. And it didn't have enough Elvis, dude.
Yep.
Like Elvis just like walks in and out of scenes, just wanders around the background. Like I was flabbergasted. And he sings maybe one song by himself, and it's like a gospel song.
Right.
And there's like, oh man, it's just bizarre. That's
like
the main
every
thing.
third or fourth note that I took was just like, what is this movie about? Like, where is Elvis? And I'm just like, I don't understand. again, I think this is sort of victim of watching it for Elvis as opposed to just watching it as a movie. Because I think watching it as
Well,
a movie, it makes a little bit more sense. But if you're like, this is an Elvis movie, his face is all over the cover, the tagline is Elvis 69, Elvis gets into trouble with girls, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well,
yeah.
where is he?
Well, maybe that's part of what they were, or Elvis was going for, and that I'm kind of missing is like, this is atypical. It isn't an Elvis movie. He's just in it. It's kind of like,
Well, so there's a note that I have that's very
mhm.
sad, is that he told Marlon Mason he just wanted to make one good film before he left Hollywood because he knew that everyone was laughing at him.
He already made a couple good films.
I know,
I wish he'd known.
I know.
But I guess it wasn't as easy to go back and watch your old work back then either, or for people to say like he couldn't basically tell someone like, "Well, have you seen King Creole?" They're like, "Well, that movie came out like 20 years ago. How am I supposed to see that movie?"
Right.
Like it's too bad.
It's on YouTube.
I just want to, dude. That's the first thing I want to say if I ever travel back in time, being like, "Who are you?" I'll be like, "Check out YouTube. You'll
Yeah.
find out." And they'll be like,
Check out
"What's
CageClub.me.
what's that?"
So he was paid like normal or recently $850,000 plus half the profits. Colonel
Nice.
Tom originally wanted Jean Hale for the female lead, but Peter Tewksbury was like, no, we want Marlon Mason. So we got Marlon Mason. But ironically, Jean Hale's husband in real life was Dabney Coleman, who's in the movie. So like they got somebody from that household.
That's
Interesting.
that's all right. That's like not quite nepotism, right? But it's like when
No, just
actors are
coincidence.
married and they
Yeah.
just like shuffle off auditions. Like, hey, by the way, they're looking for a U type.
Mm-hmm. Elvis loved football, wanted to make a football movie where he was the quarterback. Never did, obviously, but he jumped at a chance to play a lot of football on set when there was a scene written into the film. There's that one scene. It's like, why is Elvis playing football in the scene? Like, I thought he was the manager. It's like, oh, because Elvis, the actor, really just wanted to play football.
It's a real Tommy Wiseau moment of
Yes.
just like this needs to be in the movie. This needs to be in the movie. I don't care. I don't. It doesn't. I don't care.
There's a bit of trivia here that I don't know if this is real or not. It might be. It feels possible. The only Elvis movie where he doesn't fight.
Is that right?
It feels like he fights in almost every movie, but I feel like there's got to be some movie where he doesn't fight. But like he's
Feels like
always scrapping.
it feels like he fought in this one, but I guess you're right. Wow. Huh. How
So
about
there are
that?
production photos of Elvis and Marlon Mason with machine guns and cigars, and so there's been this thought that there was a different version of this movie, a different cut that was more violent and more influenced by Bonnie and Clyde because of the Tommy gun. There's also apparently scenes or photos maybe of him with Vincent Price or something, and maybe, or like people thought that might have been scenes between them that were cut also. But like I don't understand how that, like it's not like,
Why do you cut that? How do you cut that? That's insane.
I also don't know, but like a Bonnie and Clyde thing doesn't make any sense. Like that doesn't fit into the plot at all.
Couple things. Dan and I on Monsters That Made Us would bring up Elvis from time to time because we were recording, side by side.
I know. I listen to that show. I'm a
Yeah,
fan.
and I'd be like, what monster would Elvis be best this and that, and so like I felt like he sort of connected to that world just like in my head canon. Like he always should have done a monster movie of some kind, like I was a teenage zombie or something. And so for him to find out that he's a fan of that stuff and to have these guys in the film and not stage anything. This is the perfect time. You have several tents with stages on them in them, and we're literally going from tent to tent, and that's what I kind of find real fascinating. And like I feel like where they really dropped the ball, like you could do this, like you go tent to tent for an hour and a half and just like have little like skits or situations or interactions going on between all these things. It's like almost this really untapped kind of way to put a movie together, if you ask me. So it's just remarkable how much potential there was in my eyes.
I don't know. Like, because also then you mentioned it earlier, and we'll get to it later. It should have been that. It could have been that. And then it's like, well, what if it was about a murder?
But I gotta know where in the book that murder takes
Don't know.
place. Like how much more of a main character this lady is.
Don't know.
But this movie, the way it is, you only need to like switch one thing for it to kind of work better, and that is for Elvis to fall in love with the Sherry North character when he comes to town, and then there be this like him, Dabney Coleman, Sherry North, all like triangle, and then Dabney Coleman ends up dead.
Right.
Then you got a movie, because Elvis was involved in this like love triangle kind of thing, maybe.
Because
So,
instead the movie's just like, well, what about this shady gambler that we have not met before that just happens to be around?
and that scene is the most drastic tonal shift in an Elvis movie ever. You know, it almost goes to like the back room in Pulp Fiction at one point with that guy. You know, he's like, "Oh man, you're not gonna like prison, but they're gonna do like it's dark." I was feeling bad for that dude.
So it did poorly in theaters, but did well in drive-ins. It was released as the bottom half of a double feature of the Raquel Welch drama Flare Up, or also The Green Slime.
Green Slime.
So
I think that was a Toriyama film, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. That was like had a Japanese director, I think.
maybe. I don't know. Sounds like it could be. The music, though, you mentioned there's only like one song. It comes at an interesting pivot point in Elvis's career. So his last few songs and soundtracks had flopped. We talked about that in the last couple of movies. People don't really seem to want this music anymore. But, as we knew in the last episode, he'd already recorded the comeback special and was like, no, I know that like I can still perform, that people love it, people want to see it. I can sing. So Clean Up Your Own Backyard, which in my opinion, is the best song in the movie.
Yes.
That was the only single released for the film, peaked at number 35.
Okay.
The song Almost would appear in 1970 on the budget album Let's Be Friends, and it was the only other song from this movie to be released in his lifetime. His remake of Swing Down Sweet Chariot or Swing Low Sweet Chariot would not come out until 1983 on a compilation of his. The rest would not come out until the 90s when RCA put out soundtrack compilations.
Wow. Oh, wow. Maybe I'll get those. Cool.
I mean, I think they're also on Spotify, possibly. There's so much Elvis music on Spotify.
Yeah, I want to get some hard copies of some of these Elvis soundtracks one day.
The only other trivia that I have about the music is that Clean Up Your Own Backyard is noted for being anachronistic for a movie set in 1927, because it's got a modern style arrangement, uses the term armchair quarterback, which did not enter general use until like TV came out in the 40s. So
Well, I mean, there was that part in this movie where Elvis says you miss 90% of the shots you don't take. So like it's filled with anachronisms.
that was the USS Indianapolis Men of Courage, Nicolas Cage movie. And the only other bit of trivia I have is that the film's unusual structure, which we've been talking about all intro long, including a number of guest stars and a plot that unfolds through the eyes of two children, resulted in two unlikely yardsticks: the fewest Elvis Presley vocals in any of his musicals, and the film in which he has the least amount of screen time.
There it is. He's basically like now the Godzilla of his movies, where he just kind of like 10 minutes of screen time, but you just wait for it to happen. Was Lassie in this movie? There was a collie dog while Sidney Brady was singing. I could have sworn I wrote down, is that Lassie? But I wouldn't be
you mean the
surprised.
dog that is sitting on the woman's lap while she's playing the piano with her legs crossed? I'm like, why are your legs crossed with the dog on it playing the piano? I'm like, you're just adding difficulty.
The first 30 minutes of this are the children auditions, basically. It's kind of, it gets grating at a point. I'm
So
like, too
Elvis
many
shows
kids.
up, right? Like, so the movie starts, it's 1927. The narrator is telling the people in 1969, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what's cool. Here's what's popular. Here's what people like. We're in Chautauqua.
Hello, kids.
Elvis comes in, the film snaps a color, which is very cool. And they talk about who he's the boss now, and people keep reminding him, like, hey, you're the boss, you're the boss, you're the boss. And then there's a long parade,
Yep.
and there's credits that it's not an Elvis song in the credits. It's just like sort of parade orchestral music over the credits. I'm like, this feels like an opportunity. You could have snuck an Elvis song in, but you didn't. And then we get to what you were saying earlier, where the Chautauqua or this like fair or this troupe or whatever you want to call it is a series of lessons, and there's one on cannibalism.
Yeah, what was that? I wasn't sure I heard that right. And then they said it 2 or 3 more times. And it's like, there's the cannibal tent. You know, but that's what it's like, it's weird what they're teaching, but the concept is to learn about stuff you wouldn't get the opportunity. You know, maybe there weren't encyclopedias yet. I don't know. I
think they're probably encyclopedias, but they're probably very expensive.
Yeah. And then not everybody's well learned, and there's still some of these. It's just after the turn of the century, right? It's 27, so it's like it's prohibition too, right? Isn't it? Is it prohibition? So I mean,
Probably.
there's not a lot of information getting across the country,
No.
from what I understand at this point in our history. So yeah, I like
Also,
the idea
currently,
of this.
not a lot of information getting across the country in modern day. But yes,
We need Chautauqua come back.
I know.
Could you imagine? It's just weird that what they throw into it is strange. You know, why would they? Is that a joke? Cannibal learning about cannibalism?
I don't know. I don't know.
Did you kind of get like a Music Man vibe from Elvis
Yes.
too? Like he may not exactly be quite on the level, and that he's just kind of grifting this whole town.
I got the vibe that they wanted to make the Music Man and then didn't have the like budget or the like ability to make the Music Man, so they just sort of have like a slapdash.
So they just made
together.
the man. Yeah, they just made the man.
Because like if this was the Music Man, like if he was Harold Hill, like he would be in the movie a lot more. But instead, the movie's like every like 5 or 10 minutes, just like, hey Elvis, you got a lot of responsibility. You got to look into this. He's like, okay, got it. And then like we cut back to something else.
I'll be off screen. Yeah, could you imagine watching the Music Man without the main character in it? That's like this movie.
Because then we go to like this, there's like a soda jerk teen, and he's like eating a burger and drinking some like green drink out of a Coca-Cola glass. And like he's just getting yelled at. They're like, "You're eating too much on your shift. Like you're eating all of our profits."
Yeah, they got to set up Dabney Coleman to be a jerk.
But it's like, where is Elvis?
I know, man. Well, that's what I mean. Elvis didn't even walk in there to like buy a soda or some tonic or anything like that, or mustache grease or whatever, you know. Oh, which reminds me, there's a moment in here I unintentionally laughed so hard. The kids are trying to spend $1.
Yes. Oh,
this pharmacy.
Once Upon a Time in the no, not Once Upon a Time in the West. How to Die in the West.
A Million Ways to Die in the West. Just like I just said, take your hat off. That's $1.
Yep. And that kid is even just like, sure is a lot of fireworks for $1 because they have like, you know, we're recording on 4th of July Eve. Like there's, that would be like a really like, wow, like that was like a pretty decent, like if you just like went to like a friend's house and like they had like that, it'd be like, that was pretty solid.
It's a great
and those
deal.
kids get it for $1 in 1969 or 1927, I guess.
Yeah.
Hold on. One in 1927. How much money is this worth?
And Dabney Coleman is just swindling those two kids. He's like, "Oh, you got $1, huh?" And he's like, "I don't want to sell you anything good."
$1 in 1927 is worth $18.48 today. So like,
wow,
it's 20. It's basically
it's
$20 worth of Okay.
Now I see why. Yeah, in the 1880s, you take your damn hat off when you see $1 bill.
So Elvis pops in every once in a while. He's kind of in the audition scene, but usually not. He's not in the soda jerk scene. I think what you could do, because it is an Elvis movie, you don't need to do this for a novel, but I think for a film it would help, is Elvis goes from place to place and is like, hey, what's going on here? And he walks in on Dabney Coleman yelling at the soda jerk. He walks in on or maybe he's just trying to get food and the guy's like, too busy eating his own burger or whatever. But it's just like, no, we just go to this room with people we don't know and we really aren't going to return to for a while and don't have a sense of like if this is at all tied to the plot or not, or just like, no, it's just, this is, it's scene setting.
That's the craziest part, is like you don't know of any of this what is set up. Like it doesn't feel like set up. It kind of feels like a little character development. Like I'm getting the fact that, Dabney Coleman's a jerk and Velma's like adorable and like kind of frisky or whatever. They like you get kind of traits, but like I don't know what to kind of grab onto because Elvis isn't around for me to focus to tell what to really focus on. But I feel it would have been great if they just used them as like a lead in and out of scenes to get from place to place. Like that could have been enough, and then that would have just given us some kind of like someone holding our hand to be like, all right, now we go over here and then I'm going to leave you alone for a while, but I'll be back to check on you.
You need something because the movie doesn't have anything like that.
No. And the only thing with the Elvis, like what they do give him is like he just pisses off that woman that works for him, the flapper that I was talking about, like Charlene. And he kind of like, what is he like jokingly says like, oh, I'm going to fire you or like I'm going to leave you behind and all this. And she fucking freaks out and gets pissed off at him for the rest of the movie.
She's trying to like put together a union or something, right? Like she's trying to like get like workers' rights for the Chautauqua.
Yeah, and Elvis isn't having it, and then there's that whole thing about what kid is going to be in the pageant, and she's all pissed off that the wrong kid's going to be in the right kid should be, but the mayor's kid needs to be in it and stuff. And so like it's very like it's not even constant. It doesn't feel very padded. That doesn't really feel like it pans out very much either. I don't know.
No, because like the movie, so there's like three things the movie's trying to do, right? It's like, here's the little town, here's a Chautauqua, here's whatever, right? Like there's like this fair, this troop, whatever.
Yeah.
There's also like, hey, here's workman's rights, workman's comp, like I need to fight for the little man. And then there's the murder, which we're getting to. And it's just like none of these things, like they all could go together, but they don't. Like the way the movie puts them, the puzzle pieces together doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like it would have been great if something to do with like going on the Chautauqua goes on strike, someone ends up dead. Like
Hmm.
clearly it's related. Like
Yep.
there's real easy ways to fit these pieces together, but instead it's completely random.
Right.
And the person who ends up being the murderer, like I get the motive, but it wasn't like established in a concrete way to the point where like I bought that she did it. Basically,
Right.
Like,
We get Vincent Price to show up, and he's like trying to check into a hotel or something. I don't
oh,
know.
I love it. I fucking love this guy.
Like he was like I was
He's like, hello.
I was
I'm
taking
on
notes, and
the
I was also like looking at the wiki to like understand what was going on in this movie. And I hear his voice, and I'm just like, oh, I know who that is. Like I knew he was in the movie because I did the research before. But I was just like, oh, that okay. I guess he showed up.
It's kind of funny that you have this horror icon, and even at the time, he would have very well been known for doing like monster stuff or being the creepy guy or whatever. He was Egghead at this point in Batman. It's a '69, that was '66. So it's very funny for him to be playing a guy called Mr. Morality
Mm-hmm.
and talking about like the moral
Yeah.
rights and wrongs of life and stuff, where he's like generally thrives and relishes in being like a bad guy on screen and everything. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Fireworks thing. So the fireworks thing is two kids are tasked to carry fireworks or get fireworks, transport fireworks.
Well, they're just sold. They're like sold the fireworks. They don't
Yeah.
know what to buy, and they're talked into buying all these fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like he says the 4th of July was last week for them. It's tomorrow for us, or something like that. And he's like, "Well, you could hold on to them until next year."
It's really funny to me that like we get like the first person perspective of them carrying because they're like these could blow up and like you could explode basically, and so we have these two kids like literally I think the only time in the movie where we have like first person like almost like killer POV, but just like little hands carrying big fireworks that when they go off a couple minutes later erupt for like 5 minutes. Like it's so many fireworks.
It goes off. There's a couple interesting moments where it's not quite like their point of view again, but it's from like their perspective in a way where like the movie will cut or like they'll put their hand. Do you remember the part where they were like watching Elvis like this, and then like they had like their
Mm-hmm.
hand over their
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
face, and that's all you could see through the camera and stuff. Like they do interesting kind of edits like from the to be like this is what it's like for these kids to be next to Elvis, and it's like it's all blurry right now, and here it's all like jittery. So I thought that was new. You don't see that in modern films where it's like, all right, we're just going to completely break the visual language for 5 minutes
Right.
and just show you how these kids perceive this reality.
It's at this point when we're getting like again I think pretty fun stuff. We have a lot of kids. We have some Elvis, but we don't have Elvis plus kids, which we know
Yeah.
that recently has not. We're not at 100% hit rate anymore. Like we've had a couple lately that have not been good, but for the most part, and you pointed this out, usually Elvis plus a kid is good. And like the only time I think, if I remember right, Elvis interacts with these kids is when he like shows up and just like, "Hey kids, thanks for the fireworks," and just like whatever. And that's the end. Like that's the end of the interaction. And it's like, well, okay. Like I feel like these fun kids doing fun things in an adult world had the opportunity to do something fun with Elvis, and the movie didn't know, either didn't care, or didn't know, or whatever.
I think there's too many things to. There's too many things like there's too many conflicting things. I think they could have. I don't know if they could have. I don't know if there's like this is gonna sound weird, okay? But like I don't know if there was like the sophistication in the concern of the type of filmmaking going on at the time where they're like, we need to find the delicate balance of scampy little kids having fun, and then one of their moms also kills someone at the end of the movie. Like, how do you balance that even
Mm-hmm.
today? It's a very difficult situation to make like that a movie for that to work. And so this movie is trying to do that, but not right. It's just like, well, this is going to happen. Let's not even try and make this some type of tonal balance or shift it from one side to the other as we're watching. The movie doesn't even get darker as it goes along. It just fucking flips a switch.
Right.
So like that's very hard to that had to have been hard on the filmmakers to have to
For
deal with.
sure. And probably for everyone involved.
Because like, what's gonna happen? The only thing I could keep thinking at the end of this movie is what's gonna happen to that little blonde girl and her best friend Willie. Like that was their guardian, and now she's
Mm-hmm.
gonna. I mean, yeah, it was self defense, but she's still gonna go through the system. Like, that's not what I want to think about halfway through this movie. They're showing like guys like a tutorial on how to make a snow cone. Like
Right.
you don't you know how hard it is to do those two things in the same movie.
Mm-hmm. So 32 minutes in, I think people were like, we probably should do this is a musical, right? So we should have an Elvis song. And they're like, how can we get Elvis to sing? Because Elvis at this point is just like businessman. And they're like, oh, the guy who was supposed to sing is on vocal rest.
That was funny.
We need you to fix it. And so they're like, what are you going to do? And what he's going to do is sing. And so
Smash
he sings
cut, though.
Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, or Swing Down, Sweet Chariot.
Yeah, it was funny where he's like, well, what are you going to... He's like, the guy didn't show up. He's like, what are you going to do about it? And then they just like smash cut to Elvis singing.
Well, because there's also like, I think by this point we had seen that like the tent where I guess like the performance tent was empty. Like there's people dancing on stage and no one's watching them. And then we smash cut to Elvis singing and the tent, every seat is filled. People are, having a ball.
It's kind of, well, and like people from town, like as if we don't have enough characters, there's like people who came with the Chautauqua. Then there's the town folks that are wandering in, some that want to perform, some that want to like volunteer, some are going to like Velma's big dream is to leave this town and go with the Chautauqua. Like It's wild. But then, dude, at one point before the fireworks, I think it's before Elvis sings, but they come back as I think the fireworks are going off. Dude, there is a trio of fiddlers that freaked me out because they were like, minor spoiler, they were like the three white people from Sinners that appear and start singing, and they're like, pick poor Robin Clean, and they're just like diddling doo doo da, and like they show up in this fucking movie. Like it is wild. I don't know. That authenticity, maybe that's a little bit of it, but I don't know. It's weird. Like I like little drips and drabs of it, but it's not coming together. But those vampires showing up,
yes.
Wild.
Yes. Elvis is trying to navigate around a piano player who wants to quit, and his plan is to sleep with her. And then he mentions the mayor's daughter. She gets pissed off. The fireworks. I'm like, I don't really understand what's going on here, but I guess like the movie's like, we need to have some kind of like romantic something or other. Like people are going to want to see Elvis smooch. So we have this, and then the fireworks go off, and that stops that, and we get out of there. But it's just like, okay, so we're half an hour into the movie. Elvis has not sung nor kissed a woman. Let's do both really quickly so we can get back to our like art film.
Right? Yeah. Showcase, like parts of it just feel like a travelogue. Like when you like in some of those middle of the road, I only mean that in like, all right, in the scope of the Bond films, the ones that sort of like the Roger Moore movies, like some of those at some point felt like you stopped watching a Bond film and you were watching like Blue Hawaii, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, now let me show you where this is from, and let's go over here and we'll visit the famous that. Parts of this movie just started feeling like that. Like I was going to pick up the remote and see what else was on YouTube's.
Because I guess this is a good part, like where the movie's just like, you guys aren't like loving this, right? Because like the investors are like, we're not going to put up a guarantee for next year because like we don't know what's going on here. Like we don't understand what this is, and so we can't guarantee next year's Chautauqua. And so that becomes like a thing where they're like, we need some kind of way to like drum up excitement for the Chautauqua so that we can get a guarantee for next year and basically make sure that we all still have a job.
I'll tell you what not to do next year is that swimming tutorial with the lady with the grease.
With the goose fat, yeah.
That went on for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what else isn't a great idea, Elvis? Is like, he's like, I know how to get investors. And it's like, we'll have the murderer on stage confess in front of everybody, and we'll charge.
Well, yeah, and that becomes like the thing where that makes Charlene really upset because she's like, you used her.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, kind of, but also, yeah, I don't know.
And that was at a point where they didn't even know it was her, though. Like Elvis knew, but he didn't tell anybody.
But I don't know how does Elvis know?
Elvis, I think, had a hunch. If you remember when, I think it was when Vincent Price was talking about morality, like
he is Mr. Morality.
Yeah, Nita Bix gets like this look in her eye where she's like having some kind of epiphany, about starting over and like I could wipe the slate clean and all that stuff. And so I think after the murder, Elvis bumps into her and she starts talking weird about like clean slates and starting over and you can just move on with your life and stuff. And I think he might have put it together at that point, but not have been positive. I don't know.
Well, so okay, I want to figure out what the actual thing here is. So we know that Dabney Coleman's an asshole.
Yeah, and you hear a slap at one point, and he comes out kind of rubbing his cheek.
We know that at this point in the movie, there needs to be some kind of excitement for next year, although we don't know how that's going to factor into the plot. Like, we know that just becomes the issue for the movie.
Yeah.
And then I think very shortly thereafter, Nita Bix goes to the ice cream shop or whatever, and the camera looks her up and down. Again, this is, I guess, first person perspective, from the perspective of Dabney Coleman, right? And like ogling her, eventually landing on her eyes as he gets behind the counter and then gives her the meal.
Okay.
And then we cut away. And I was just like, that was weird. All right.
So you know what happened. I mean, now I know what happened.
Well, yeah, he like came on to her and then she, struck back.
Well, he probably tried to like forcibly, tried to rape her. Probably tried to rape her. Like, that's probably in the book. The book is probably that. That's the reason, I bet. I'm willing to bet. Look up the book.
And so there's suddenly a murderer on the loose, supposedly, because Dabney Coleman, Mr. Wilby, the pharmacist, is dead. They find the shady gambler. They're like, it's probably him. And I'm just like, no, it's not. Like, why would the movie set up a problem and then immediately solve it with somebody who we don't know? Unclear, again, like I was saying about, how Elvis knows, but he brings Mrs. Bix, who is like so drunk that she passes out. I guess she felt really guilty about what she did, got drunk, showed up, whatever. Maybe she confesses to Elvis. And someone asks a college kid when she passes on the ground, what do you do when you're out with a girl who gets this drunk, like so drunk that she's passed out? And the kid says, I've never been that lucky, and then runs off. Crazy. And I'm like, oh boy, like that wasn't that long ago. Like that, I guess this is 1927, but still,
it's there's a lot of 1969 sensibilities, even with like a lot of the music and a lot of that, and I feel like there's no way Nicole Jaffe, like, there was a character acting that way in the 20s. Maybe I don't know. She feels very 60s to me as a character. But
so we have the murderer still maybe on the loose, even though Elvis seems to not be worried about it because he's figured it out. We have Nita Bix, sort of a mainstay of the Chautauqua, passed out drunk behind the stage. They're like dumping her face in water or whatever.
Yeah, they spend like 20 minutes trying to sober her up.
But then the movie's like, well, let's just have a bunch of musical numbers.
Well, so here's what's crazy, Joey. I thought the movie, like, I thought all the child auditions and all that stuff, I thought
would like lead to something?
Was going to lead to a pageant. Was going to be like, okay, the big show, and then there was going to be like and someone would interrupt that. There'd be an incident at the show towards the end, and that would be the third act. But it's just more fucking singing and shit. Like, it's more people, not Elvis, doing vaudeville.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck?
Don't know.
And I mean, I love vaudeville, but there's a time and a place. And John Carradine didn't do jack shit in this movie, man. He didn't nothing. They didn't even make a joke about Dracula or anything.
Violet, parentheses, flower of NYU, which Elvis sings to the four college guys in the tent. Oh, but he's only got really like kind of like one half a verse, so that's not really of note. But this is also not, like, I realize this is not the first, and this is at least the second, if not more, where we have like college guy from back in the day where it's like, he loves his school and he loves singing. It's like, that's a different kind of like college. Like, I feel like maybe the Rodney Dangerfields or whatever, like the John Belushi's exposed maybe the reality of what college guys are all about, like in Animal House and in Back to School and whatever, right? All that kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But here it's just like, no. I dress in a sweater. I've got a clean haircut, and I sing with my friends about how much I love the flower of NYU. It's like, wow, what?
Yeah. Do you remember what was on their sweaters too? What it spelled out?
Made a note. It
spelled out pray, Pray.
Right.
So, I mean...
So there's Rutgers, there's a Yale, and there's two other... Princeton. But yeah, Frank Welker in there, the R in Pray, he is Nibbler. He is Fred and Scooby. He is Megatron. He's Dr. Claw.
Megatron. Pretty cool.
So then we have Clean Up Your Own Backyard, which is like a couple minutes after the first one. I liked it was a kind of a fun, groovy number. In my opinion, the best in the movie so far. There's also a lot of like camera work, like doing these like insert shots and close-ups of like people playing the guitar and like people's faces, and like I'm just like this is like the best song. Like, you don't need to like dress it up in this way, but like they were really trying to make it interesting. I'm like, okay, like I'm here, I'm interested in, but like this is almost like the one part of the movie where you don't have to do that.
Yeah, just let the song speak for itself, maybe. Kind of situation. Yeah, clean up your own backyard. It sounds like there's like a euphemism in there, something. I don't know. It seems a little dirty if you have a dirty mind.
And then we have Signs of the Zodiac that he sings with Marlon Mason again on stage. And he basically starts telling people about, like, sorry that, like, I failed the Chautauqua. I can't do this, whatever. And then Mrs. Bix, now soaking wet, comes out as, like, the cops are there? That was the police that showed up, right?
What were they going to do? Arrest Elvis for fraud?
I think he might have called them and said, I know who killed
Well, yeah.
Mr. Wilby.
He probably told the cops to show up. But when he's like, sorry, folks, like, I don't have the murderer, right before she walks out and confesses, like, they look like they're going to come up on stage and, like, take him away for lying to everybody and taking their money and being like, show's over, folks. Nope. Not going to happen tonight.
I don't know.
Signs of the Zodiac. Yeah, I can't believe how much they got away with Elvis, A, not singing, and B, singing with other people, like sharing the stage. What? I cannot believe this. How did this happen? First he steals my look, and then he defies my orders. He may not sing with another woman. This is crazy.
I don't know, because then we also, at the end, have him alone on a piano in an empty tent after the Chautauqua has maybe concluded, singing the song Almost. And this is when the movie is like, you need to wrap up the whole Charlene thing, like wanting people to have a thing. But it is weird to be like, okay, we're going to have him sing with the band, sort of sing alone, sing a duet, and then sing really truly alone in the span of about 15 minutes. It's like 4 songs, because this is kind of a musical, or it could be a musical, like let's just jam a bunch of songs here in the end.
I even wrote down at the end for another encore, I wrote down the Sinner vampires perform again. They return after Violet or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're so fucking creepy.
Yeah, he says that he's going to... She was mad about the whole union thing, and then he used Mrs. Bix to help the struggling Chautauqua.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I gave her money. I gave her $300, right? And like chased her out of town, but then she came back or something. I didn't understand.
No, so I think, okay, so she's pissed about a lot of stuff, and he's like, I'll pay you off. Here's $300.
Right.
Stay behind. Don't
Which, again,
come with
$300
us.
is like $6,000 today.
Yeah, and he was like, stay. You don't want to come with us anymore. You say you want to stay in this town or leave it. Fine. Here's $300. Good luck. And then someone's like, hey, where's Charlene? And he's like, I left her here with $300. And the next thing you know, people are like dragging her to the train to throw her on the train. I don't know if they just robbed her and wanted to get rid of her. I don't know what that was trying to show me. But like, she's in a car. There's people like manhandling her, and they just like throw her into the train, right? Like through the door. They just like shuffle her right into the train. And Elvis is like, oh, well, I guess she's back.
And the narrator returns to basically say, like, well, we're 7 years later now. Chautauqua had a really good run. It's like, okay, okay.
I guess so.
And that's the movie.
Couldn't believe it, man.
Just overall, I think I would have really liked this or been more open-minded to it had it come earlier in the run. It's a real bummer to me that it came so late in terms of like only 2 Elvis movies left, and one of them was on screen in this movie for 20 minutes maybe.
Dude, 10 years ago when the book was written and the movie should have been made is the perfect time because it feels like a movie made 10 years before.
Yep.
Like it,
like he's coming back from war and he's just like, I need something like easy where I like, people are going to come see it for me, but I don't need to like, I can just sort of like get back into it.
To think that 2001 A Space Odyssey was made the very same, like released the very same year is just mind boggling when you see like the sort of the production. I mean, and it's not like, I get it. They didn't have the most money and it doesn't look terrible. Like there are some really cool shots and nice looking, especially the nighttime stuff is always really nice in these Elvis movies. Cause they have to like, they don't do day for night. They do night for night in this movie. So it has some things like that going on, but yeah, man, this one is just like way too late in the schedule.
So I do want to say, in case people are out there like banging their keyboards or whatever, 2001 came out the year before. Actually, I was wrong. 68. So 69 had Midnight Cowboy,
even less of an excuse.
Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, had Easy Rider, had La
Easy Rider, okay,
On Her Majesty's Secret Service, The Italian Job. Like, there's a bunch of like real.
The Italian Job. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
That movie's so good. The original is so good.
My cocaine.
It's wild that this is the movie that like...
It feels like they made it 10 years ago, put it in a vault, and were like, oh shit, we forgot about this one. Better put it out there. It's like Venom.
Yeah.
To me, when Venom came out, someone was like, did you like it? I was like, it feels like they made it in the 90s. They forgot they made it. And then they were like, oh shit, we should put this out today. And it just, had that kind of sensibility to me. and fun. I liked it. I mean, that movie's fine. I don't, I'm not
It is.
bashing
It
it or
is weird. Like,
anything.
I think this does really feel like. I think the Sony Marvel movies are a good comparison because it's like this is what you want, right? It's like, did you learn nothing? Like, it's not like
Yeah,
you can't just like slap a Marvel logo on there and be like, people are going to love this. It's like people
yeah.
don't want Kraven the Hunter.
No, and it's still, and as good as the Spider-Man movies were then, like, it feels like these go with those better than they're supposed to go on their own or what they're doing now. Whatever. It's like, yeah, they're chasing their tails. They were apparently. I guess that's all dead in the water
So okay,
now. All right.
best song in the movie is "Clean Up Your Own Backyard," right?
Yeah, and every song is like appropriately sung because the whole fucking thing is an audition for whoever's singing the
So
song.
it's a 10 out of 10. It's not forced at all.
It's insane, but right, like, can you find
Nope.
a chink in the armor? Like, it's just, I hate to say it, I
Well, again,
never would have
this is like what we've
imagined.
been pitching for forever in terms of like guessing the next movie. It's just like have it so that like Elvis is like a band guy. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
But he's not even
I
the
know.
band guy.
I
Like,
know.
he's totally like Elron, or like even the Music Man didn't know shit about music. Like, this guy, he doesn't even pretend to. He sings that one song and stuff, but it's not like it's in an emergency. He's not part of the act.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate to say it, Joey. I mean, it's either a 9 or a 10. I don't. I mean, it
I'll
could
give
be
it
a
a 10.
9 because Elvis doesn't sing as much. But we could. I mean,
No, I mean the songs that are in here all make sense. Even his
yeah,
songs make sense too, right? So
wild.
okay, so for this movie, this was our guesses. I said it's basically Crazy Stupid Love. Again, going just based on title alone, teaching younger guys how to pick up girls, but along the way he finds the one that rocks his world. None of that even comes close to happening.
Yeah, the pickup artist.
You said Elvis has too many girlfriends, a girl for almost every day of the week. He has to pick which to be with. He has a song about each. He meets he meets his girl Friday. He finally wants to just be with one of them. He has a contest of who can be his girlfriend. Again, none of that happened.
I need to see that movie still.
Our next movie is Change of Habit, and I have a guess that I wrote down earlier in the week.
Oh wow, I have no idea. I just know that Mary Tyler Moore is in it.
So I
can't believe it.
think the one thing I think I know, and this might not be right, but I think it's about nuns.
Oh, because Habit's in the title.
I think we just knew that like there's an Elvis nun movie.
See,
Again, it might not be right, but I think it is.
I was thinking of Habit in the other sense. Man, I hate hominins. Why does one word have to mean more than one thing?
It's a terrible language. So I think it's going to be a wacky comedy where, for some reason, Elvis has to go undercover as a nun.
Oh, like, We're No Angels or something. That would be amazing.
All the nuns know that he's Elvis, whoever he is in the movie, but no one else in the outside world does.
So it's like Sister Act. They're
Yeah.
gonna sing. They're gonna dance. He's
Basically,
hiding from
but
the
things
mob.
get complicated though because they channel their inner musicians, become a traveling song and dance troupe. I wrote this before this movie,
I love it.
and it's a real rarity for the nuns. But they have to shield Elvis from the mobster or whoever is actually after him. So that's what I think this is about.
Every
Where he's like
tell.
he joins a singing, dancing, or he like brings music to a convent or
Yeah,
something.
that's good.
And they start touring it. They're like, well, we can't actually tour because he's wanted by the outside world.
Sound of Music. They sang in the Nun. The Nuns sang there.
So
there's
what
a
do you
precedent.
think Change of Habit is about?
So by habit, I meant the other habit. Like, he's got a bad habit, and he's like a womanizing kind of like pickup artist kind of guy. Like, he's just like a slimy guy. He's like goes from girl to girl or whatever, and then he meets Mary Tyler Moore, and he has to change his habits and be with her. So, like, clean up his act. What's the movie called again?
Change of Habit.
Yeah. So, like, he has to change his bad habits of being, and she's like, you want to be with me, Elvis? Like, you're going to have to be more like Dick Van Dyke, my TV husband, and all this kind of shit. And, like, clean up your act and change those bad habits. And he's going to do it. And there's going to be like music, and he's going to be chasing her, and like, he's going to have to drop old girlfriends. And there's going to be like probably a scene where like he's finally got a date with her, and it goes horribly wrong because like, all the girls that like the waitress knows him, like the girl over there knows him, like this, that, and the other. But at the end, I think it's going to end in true Elvis fashion with the final movie, the final scene, a final wedding. Please. That's it. And when he gets into a bar fight at one point.
So I also think we know if this trivia was to be believed in this movie, in The Trouble with Girls, he has to get into a fight in the next movie because if this is the only movie without a fight.
Yes. Had to sneak that in.
As an incognito nun tries to help a doctor clean up an inner city ghetto, the pair grow closer with time.
So you got the nun part.
I don't think he's the nun, though. I think
Mary
Tyler
Tyler Moore's the
Moore
nun?
is the incognito nun. He plays Dr. John Carpenter.
Oh my God, Dr. John was a famous musician at the time, wasn't he? Isn't Dr. Teeth from the Muppets based off Dr. John?
But also John Carpenter, like he's Dr. John Carpenter.
Yeah, John Carpenter too. Like, wait,
Yeah.
John Carpenter wasn't like active yet, though. That was another 10 years, I think.
No, I think he does. John Carpenter does. He does like a space movie in like 74.
Yeah, his student film. Yeah.
So
remember
yeah,
that.
like Halloween is 78, right? So like we're far away from that, but like he does.
Weird. I wonder if John Carpenter knew that because he directed an Elvis movie with Kurt Russell as Elvis. So he must have been a big fan and been like, oh my God, Elvis played a character named me. Oops.
Well, we know that like we were so excited when there was a character named Mike or Joey. You know what I mean?
Right,
Also, I
yeah,
watched
yeah.
the movie Cleaner today, which is not great, but Daisy Ridley plays a character named Joey, and I'm just like, okay.
But it's not like his name was Mike Manzi. Like,
No.
you know, like that would have been insane.
Well, also like John Carpenter's kind of a common name. Yeah, he does.
Carpenter's a big.
He does
last
short
name.
films through the 60s. Dark Star comes out in
Dark
74.
Star.
That's the first one. That's his
I really
first.
like Dark Star. I only saw it for the first time like two or 3 years ago.
Yeah, for a student film, for like a John Carpenter film, it's not good, but for a student film,
No,
it's great.
but,
And then Assault
yeah.
on Precinct 13 is in 76, Halloween's in
It's very
78,
scary.
and then Elvis is in 79. So like 10 years after Elvis plays John Carpenter,
Crazy.
John Carpenter plays Elvis. Sort
Well,
of.
makes an Elvis movie. Yeah.
Also in Change of Habit is Ed Asner.
Oh, okay. He worked with Mary Tyler Moore later. Didn't they work on her second show? Wasn't he on like the Mary Tyler Moore show? I could be wrong.
Yes, he was Lou Grant in
Yeah,
166
thank you. All right.
episodes of the Mary
Ooh,
Tyler
my Nick
Moore
at
Show.
Night is still in there.
That was the year after. So the 1 year after,
Holy
he's the
shit.
co-star with Mary Tyler Moore.
Okay.
So 1 year after this movie, they start that show.
So she was already like huge. She was big shit. So for her to be in an Elvis movie like probably made a lot of sense at the time. It was probably like getting Julia Roberts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what is she in? By this point, yeah, she's doing a lot of TV, some
Yeah,
movies.
Mary Tyler, I mean, the Dick Van Dyke Show was epic at the time, right?
So,
Like,
yeah.
Carl
Okay.
Reiner.
Anything else to say in this episode?
Again, maybe not the best movie, but had a lot of fun talking about it. Always enjoy these episodes. I can't believe we're getting down to the bottom of the barrel.
No.
Wild stuff, man. Here we are, years later, and only one more official movie that Elvis starred in, fiction film.
Well, email King, King, at cageclub.me. We'll read on the next episode. Or, again, there'll be stuff after that. We don't know what or when, because there's other stuff we have to do, like Cage and Cruz and Hanks and whatever. But we do want to finish this out strong, so we have one more Elvis movie where he plays a doctor, not a nun, sadly.
But there is a nun business going on.
None of your business.
No, I know.
But for all things Viva Pod Vegas, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/ no, don't go to Facebook. Just go to cageclub.me, poke around. New shows almost every day. Lots of X's for show. Husbands talking more or less. Too Fast, Too Forever. Your show, Monster Pod, coming back in the fall.
That's the plan.
Cool. Go to cageclub.me. Email us king@cageclub.me and come back in about a month when we talk about Change of Habit. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
And I'm Mike Manzi.
And we'll see you next time right here on Viva Pod Vegas. Thank you very much for listening.
All right. Elvis has left the building.